Student, we all were talking about the reproduction in the last lecture, and we all had already discussed that about the egg. Now, what we have learned about the egg, that the egg, it is having the two area of heavy deposition of yolk is the vegetal pole, and the opposite area where the concentrated cytoplasm plus nucleus is present, there is called as the animal pole. So till this conversation we had discussed in the last lecture, today we all will be talking about the classification of the eggs on the basis of amount of yolk is present. Now see student, we all know that the animal are of two types. That also we had discussed in the last lecture, amniotes and unamniotes. So, in the case of the unamniotes, the eggs are usually laid into the water, and there they are getting the water current and they are getting the ammonia from there. And in the case of the amniotes, especially the animals, those who are oviparous, so everything, all the life materials are deposited inside the egg, and from that only the animal they develop. But there also that are two type of the development. One is the complete development, another is the incomplete development. Incomplete development is called as the metamorphosis. That means the animal take the various forms before becoming the adult. That means the animal may possess the life stages, like they may have the larva, they may have the pupa, they may have instars, they may have the further stages in which, that means the, in short we can say the animal takes time. Why? Because the animal may be so tiny, cannot make such a big amount of yolk deposition into the egg, and cannot have such type of the life materials inside their egg. So for that reason the development happens into the various stages. And the another category of the animal amniotes also we have discussed are of two type, oviparous, viviparous. Oviparous, the one which lays the egg. Now when they lay the egg, so in that egg, now first of all, that egg, in the case of the amniotes, it should be the fertilized egg. Why? Because their development, sorry, their reproduction is which type, external or internal, student? Their fertilization is internal type. They are going to directly develop there. In the case of the unamniotes, we have seen usually, not always, usually they have the external fertilization. So here internal fertilization will happen, and thereafter last lecture we had already discussed that the egg will roll on from the various part of the reproductive tract, and from that the egg is going to develop into the complete egg, and it is going to be laid outside. Yes, this discussion we had. So as we all have seen that the development is not same in the case of all animal. The development is different. Viviparous, so entirely the animal is developing inside the body of the mother, or you can say the mother's womb. So there is no need to make such a heavy egg and lots of deposition. Now see, the egg is having the yolk. Now yolk is what? Yolk is a depository material, or you can say the food storage which a baby requires for its development. Now we had discussed that animal either depend on this particular yolk, or it may get the directly food supply from the mother, or maybe it itself will develop as an immature, like larva and all will become voracious feeder, khud ka khud khayega, and will develop. Is that clear? So on the basis of that, the amount of yolk is differ from type of species to species, animal to animal. So majorly these eggs are classified as the oligolecithal egg and the polylecithal egg. Further subdivisions are there In case of the oligolecithal egg, oligo term means very few, negligible. Okay, very few amount of this yolk will be present. See, lecithle means it's related to the your amount of yolk. Okay, oligolecithal, very few amount of yolk is present. So when the amount of yolk is extremely small, so definitely that eggs will not be able to do the complete development, right? जैसे मम्मी है वैसे तो बेबी होना possible नहीं है, because they are not getting the sufficient quantity. So in that case, what do you will find that the animal will have the several metamorphic stage. Metamorphic stage, metamorphosis is a term in which the developmental stages of animal varies, like egg, larva, pupa, and all. So the animal, those who have the oligolecithal egg, one condition that either they may go to the several metamorphic condition, or they acquire the support of mother by forming placenta. What is the placenta? Last lecture we all had discussed. What is the placenta? Yes, can anyone tell me? What is the placenta? We had already discussed in the last lecture about the placenta. It is a feto-maternal tissue which connects the developing embryo with the mother, and it takes all the nutrient and all the other things. It's the exchange of the nitrogenous waste and all through the mother. We all are going to study in detail about the placenta in the further classes, but right now you remember about the placenta is a tissue which connects baby as well as the mummy. Okay, so type last lecture I told you that what is the restriction point for cleavage furrow. It is the yolk deposition. So here the quantity, see these two category. First two, just a minute. What is the issue? I don't know what's the issue. I'm sorry, student. So student, this two type, this one and this one is the oligolecithal. So here the amount of yolk is very little. So cleavage furrow will go till the down, and this particular type of the animal will show holoblastic cleavage. Okay, because there is no hindrance of the yolk. So the two oligolecithal example is alecithal and meolecithal or the microlecithal. So when we talk about means no negligible amount of yolk will be present, and at that particular time this embryo needs to be implanted immediately after fertilization, and placenta should be formed. So when we talk about the placenta, so that means this type of egg will definitely find in the case of the mammal, because mammals are the animal those who forms the placenta. So what is the placenta? Once again I tell you, placenta is a union of the maternal and the fetal tissue which is formed inside the uterus of the mother, and it is formed for the exchange of the gases as well as nutrients, so that they can execute the complete development of the developing embryo. So the animals, those who bears the placenta, they will have the Alecithal type of egg, and such animals are called as the Eutharians. That means the placental animal. So Eutharians, they will have the direct development, but they have the negligible quantity of the yolk, because as soon as the fertilization happen, the egg is implanted into the uterus, and egg itself secretes certain type of the chemical substances which start forming the placenta, that is the metafraternal connection. So this is about the Lecithle egg. So what we have learned about the Lecithle egg, that amount of yolk is negligible, and this type of egg are found into the placental mammals, Eutharians, which have the placenta. Okay. Then next category, Meolecital or the Microlecital. So here yolk will be there, but the quantity will be very little and evenly distributed. So where this type of egg you will find, see, we have seen that oligolecidal egg will be having in the animals either those who form the placenta or one which goes for metamorphosis. So this type of Meolecital or the Mesolecital or Microlecital type of egg will be observed usually in the animals which shows the metamorphosis, like insects, amphioxus, tunicates. So their development will be indirect, and embryo will go to the various stages of development like larva. Then larva will be why they will have such stages of the development. See, student, once they are developing, now our baby, they do not require to come out of the environment, eat and grow, and will develop some other parts of their body. In the case of such type of animals, what will happen, that egg will develop into a form which is immature and which will be totally different from their adult, and that form will eat, will get food, will gather energy, and thereafter they will do the essential further developmental stages. So tunicate, they also form short-living tadpole larvae before developing into adult. When we talk about the amphioxus, development undergoes rapidly to cope up with the meager yolk reserve into the egg. So this is about the oligolecidal egg. Oligolecidal egg have two type, olecidal into the placental mammal and the mesolecidal into the animals, which shows the metamorphosis. So in that we have learned the examples are insects, amphioxus and tunicate. Now next is the polylecidal egg. So generally oviparous animal, they produce the polylecidal egg. When we talk about this type of egg, so this egg will have the large quantity of the yolk, and at this stage these eggs will be very heavily laden. So this heavy laden yolk or excessive quantity of the yolk will support the complete development of the embryo before hatching. Further, they are classified as the mesolecidal and the macrolecidal. So this mesolecidal egg, this type of egg, they will be having the moderate amount of egg, which largely confined to the vegetal pole. Now we had already discussed about the animal pole and the vegetal pole. Animal pole is having the cytoplasm with nucleus, and vegetal pole will have the heavy deposition of the egg. So animal pole will be very light, or you can say less than half portion in the case of,
Yeah.
yes, the mesolecidal eggs, they will undergo slower type of the holoblastic cleavage, particularly into the vegetal than the microlecidal egg. Examples are the dipnoi and the amphibians, as well as petromyzons are the example of the mesolecidal egg. When we talk about the macrolecidal, और इसको मेगालेसिथल भी बोल सकते हैं बच्चों, पॉलीलेसिथल, here this type of egg. Now here you can see that the cytoplasm is restricted into a very smaller region, and this cytoplasm is forming the germinal disc, because here this is the smallest region, this is the smallest region where the development of animal will happen, and remaining all part is the food reserve. So the development will start from this smaller region, and as the animal will grow, will take this yolk for its development, and slowly this yolk will be exhausted, or you can say over, and animal will grow little like this. Okay, so this macrolecithal or megalecithal eggs, they contain the large amount of the yolk. Terrestrial animals, terrestrial oviparous animals like reptile हो गए आपके, birds, and even some mammals. Can anyone tell me the name of the mammals, those who lay egg? In the last lecture I had explained you that mammals are of three type: egg laying mammals, marsupials, and eutharians. Yes, you remember mammals, the animal which possess the mammary gland, or you can say those who feed their baby with their milk. Lactation happens, these animals are called as mammals. So three type of mammals are there. So one category of the mammal, that is egg laying mammal. What are the example of egg laying mammal? Duck billed platypus and anteater. These are the two example of the this egg laying mammal. So this egg laying mammal will also show this type of the egg. So we have three example of macrolecythal egg, like reptile, bird, and the mammal. Okay, so this ensures the complete growth of embryo inside the egg itself before they hatch out. Due to large amount of yolk, the cleavage of meroblastic type. Meroblastic type means the now see, I told you that the cleavage furrow can go to the area where the cytoplasm is present. So cytoplasm is present into a very smaller region, into a disc region. So this region will only be allowed for the cleavage. Is that clear? So this is all about the classification of the eggs based on the amount of yolk present. But this yolk is distributed in various form inside the egg. So on the basis of that, the classification of egg is also done on the basis of distribution of egg, because we know that the animals, they have the different amount of egg yolk. So there is a variation on its distribution into the egg. Microlecithal egg, when we show, we talk about, so they will have a very small quantity of the yolk. So this yolk will be evenly distributed. While when we talk about the macrolecithal egg, so macro means large quantity, polylecithal. So they may be pushed to one end, or it may be present, you can say centrally located. So depending on the distribution of egg yolk, the eggs are classified as isolecital, telolecithal, and centrolecithal. When we talk about the isolecital type is also called as the homolecithal. So they contain a very little quantity of the yolk, which is distributed uniformly, as you can see into the first picture. These eggs will undergo to the holoblastic cleavage, because here the cytoplasm is clear cut, so the cleavage furrow go till the end. Is that clear? Now see example of animals, those who have such type of egg, is the echinoderms, amphioxus, as well as the mammal. Now here let me clear mammal. Which mammal? Placental mammal, because we have seen that the placental mammal, they have the small quantity of the, or you can say oligolecithal type of egg, or olecithal. Next is the telolecithal. Next category, this one, telolecithal. Now telolecithal, here what is going to be happen, that the egg will have large quantity. Polylecithal जो हमने example पढ़े हैं, will have the large quantity of the yolk. So all this yolk will be concentrated at the vegetal pole. So telolecithal egg will show the polarity. Proper polarity will be there. Vegetal pole will be large and prominent. That's why it is going to make the broader vegetal pole, and the egg will acquired oval shape because they will have the broad base because of the heavy deposition of the yolk present in that nucleus. You will find that it will be present into that. So see, there will be, again we can classify this telolecithal egg into the three category. Slightly telolecithal, so it will have the small quantity of the yolk which is distributed unevenly. Vegetal hemisphere will have highest concentration and animal hemisphere will have the lowest concentration. Slightly telolecithal egg is the example of the fish. In this case, nucleus will be placed into the center. I will just draw here the slightly telolecithal. Here. See, if I will draw the telolecithal, say example, this is your egg, okay? So inside that, again I have to draw. It will just look like this. Let me change the color. It is going to look like this. Slightly telolecithal egg. Okay. So this is slightly telolecithal. So this amount, the gray color, what you all can see, will be your yolk, and this will have comparatively smaller quantity of the yolk. And when we talk about moderately telolecithal, let me take this too. Moderately telolecithal. I will draw the nucleus as well. So it will have little smaller quantity of the. Just a minute. Sorry. They will have little more quantity of the cytoplasm. And when we talk about the last category, that is the pronounced telolecithal, they will have a very small quantity of the cytoplasm. This much. Like our bird's egg. This. So this is your slightly telolecithal, this is your moderately telolecithal, this is your pronounced telolecithal. And when we talk about the nucleus, so definitely we all know that the nucleus that is going to be present inside your cytoplasm region. So in this case, you will find that the nucleus is somewhere present into the center. Here you will find it is present in above the center. Just a minute. Above the center, nucleus will be found. And when we talk about the, just a minute. Nucleus can be seen here, and here if you will talk about the nucleus, so nucleus will be present just top, at the top into the central region. So this is your slightly telolecithal, this is your moderately telolecithal, And this is your pronounced teleolecital. So this is about the teleolecital egg. Now let us discuss about the centrolexical egg. So when we talk about the centrolexical egg, so here they will be having center of the egg will be occupied the nucleus as well as the small quantity. This type of egg will also be the polylexical egg, but here the instead of concentrating the animal pole, this cytoplasm, instead of concentrating into the animal pole, cytoplasm comes at the center side, and periphery will be thick layer of the yolk. So this periphery yolk that will create a strand of cytoplasm at the central vital part, and such type of egg will be found in the case of arthropods as well as the coelenterates. So when we talk about the telolecital egg, in the case of the when we talk about the slightly telolecital, so this first type of the slightly telolecital egg, this is found in the case of the fish, and when we talk about moderately teleolecital egg, so this is found in the case of the amphibians, and when we talk about the pronounced teleolecital egg, so this is found in the case of the reptiles and the bird. तो आपका जो bird egg, chicken egg जो आप खाते हो, that is what, that is the pronounced teleolecital egg. So this is all about the types of eggs. We have learned types of egg on the basis of its cytoplasm, as well as we have learned the type of egg on the basis of distribution of its yolk. So the now next topic we all are learn about the development. On the basis of the development also, eggs are of two type: mosaic egg and the regulative egg. When we talk about the mosaic, first we will talk about the mosaic. So when we talk about the mosaic egg, so suppose this is the egg, this is your egg, and egg is divided into the four part. Okay, first four cell division will happen: one, two, this is your three, and this is your four. Okay, so after that, if unfortunately with any accident this two is killed off, okay, is died, this cell is dead, so this one was supposed to make the nervous system, this 2 was supposed to become the epidermis, or 3 was supposed to become the limb, and 4 was having some other part to be formed like vertebral column or anything. So in the case of the every part, in short we can say, of the future embryo will be predetermined, that this number 1 will become this thing, number 2 will become this thing, number 3. So before or at the time of fertilization happen, that particular time only, each and every part of egg is destined its fate. Fate means, student, that one cell is going to become so and so thing in the future embryo. So that is called as a fate. So fate of each and every part in the case of the mosaic or determined egg is destined, or it is you can say well predetermined. If any portion is removed, just now I have given you example that the portion 2 is killed off or is been removed, so that related organ will not develop in the embryo. So such egg are called as the mosaic or the determined egg. Now example of such egg is the polychythia, then nematine, annelids, mollusks, as well as the acidian. Now, opposite to that is the regulative development. So, this egg in which development is potentialate, means each and every egg is having potential. Each and every part of the egg, which when divide, will have the potential to become the entire embryo. So, we can simply say that the organ of future embryo are not predetermined, they are referred to as the regulative development or indetermined eggs. In regulative egg, The determination occurs only after the third cleavage. Till first, second, third cleavage, each and every part is having the full potential to become the complete embryo. As you all can see on my screen, if the blastoma of such eggs are removed before the third cleavage, each and every blastoma will develop into a complete embryo. In human, when we talk about the identical twin, so they are developed from such an attribute of the egg only. We have the regulative development. So if in any case the egg they separate, it happens na, any accidental separation of the cell, developing embryo happens. So these two cells they become the identical twins, and even they, if it will break into the four cells, all four cells will be separated. So there will be four twins, four identical babies will develop from each cell. Eggs are either shelled or non-shelled. Animal which lay eggs on the dry land, they develop the calcareous shell, and such type of animals are known as the cleidoic eggs. Example: reptiles egg, birds eggs. They all have a proper calcareous shell on that, so that's why they are called as the cleioidic egg. And animals, those who have the internal development, means they develop their baby inside, they lay their eggs without the shells. Such such eggs are known as the non-cleidoic eggs. So in this lecture we have discussed about the various type of the eggs. First we have discussed about the egg types on the basis of amount of yolk present. Thereafter we have discussed how the cytoplasm, why I'm telling cytoplasm, I'm extremely sorry, how the yolk is distributed in the egg. On the basis of the egg we have seen the division. Thereafter we have seen on the basis of the development, and at last we have discussed on the presence and absence of shells. So first category, on the basis of amount of yolk present, we all have seen eggs are either oligolecithal or polylecithal. Example of oligolecithal is alecithal and microlecithal. Polylecithal example is mesolecithal and macrolecithal. Second category, we all have seen classification of the egg based on distribution of egg. So that we have seen isolecital, telolecital, and centrolecital. Telolecital could be slightly telolecital, moderately telolecital, or pronounced telolecital. On the basis of the development, we have seen egg could be mosaic egg and the regulative egg, and at the end we have seen on the presence or absence of the shell. If the shell is present, as it is a calcareous shell, so the eggs will be called as the cleidoic egg, and if the shell is absent, non-cleidoic egg. So this is all about types of egg. Next lecture onwards we will be talking about the uh, gametes. In that, first we will be talking about the structure of the sperm, and as well as we all will also have a discussion on the types of sperm. So for this lecture, for this note, we can stop. Students, do you have any doubt? Yes, anything you want me